So one of my favourite examples of augmented reality is by Duckery with an app called 4D. From a patient seemingly laying flat on an operation table, you point your mobile phone to that image, and levitating from it is an augmented male or female. And you have a slider which then you can look into the body, various systems of the body, circulatory, respiratory, skeletal and so on. And with that you can gain insights as to how the human body is connected and interconnected as well. And following that medical favouritism for augmented reality, there's another app called Mobile Medic, which was for the Australian Defence Force. And cleverly they used posters in the public space for people to come up with their smartphones again, point it at the regular looking people, and have then in context x-rays and other kind of biometrics indicated in order for them to make diagnosis. And if they got that diagnosis correct, the Australian Defence Force has recruited those people. It's a very clever way of using augmented reality, again like a second nature type of facilitator. Yeah, a couple of other examples of augmented reality that's sticking out there to take note of is Ingress by Google, which is on the Android phones. It's invite only, but it reinterprets the world in a gamification sense. You choose your side, whether it's good or evil, let's say, and then you go around the world reinterpreting symbols and spaces. There's going to be a lot more of this coming out. Another app, which is called Sunseeker, made by an Australian, was one of the early favourites, and basically it showed you time of day patterns of the solar system, and also the pattern of the sun. And this helped photographers and other professions to make a careful analysis of what angles to use for their photography and so on. That then was translated to the path of the moon, and we have now these practical tools in AR. So it's more and more examples of how different industries and lifestyles are benefiting from augmented reality. So when we started Explore Engage in early 2010, my co-founder Paul Kupis had skill sets from the past 10 years in medical, illustration, animation, industrial design. And one of the devices he was working with was a head-up display. And it just made total sense to us that augmented reality would start to move from the mobile flat 2D screen to an augmented eyepiece, of which then gave you direct line of sight 3D. And within 6 months of working with Explore Engage, we found I guess a milestone client which helped us explore this and accelerate this business plan. Often I'm asked, so what's the difference between what you do and Google Glass, and won't Google Glass crush you and all the rest? So in answer to that, Google Glass is definitively a different product. Whilst it is on the eye, it is in fact a prism just above the eye, and therefore not having augmented experiences. It's more like a video dashboard near the eye. Explore Engage eyewear is about a see-through lens, monocular or binocular, of which we can see the world and reinterpret it with digital audio or visual. And so thereby we're able to do different use cases. So both products have their own validity, but are going down different forks in the road. So in the past 3 years we've been operating with Explore Engage, we've done about 100 projects, and what we've found profoundly is that when we offer users a two-way interactive experience, it'll blast those return on investment figures out of the water. So for example, Transformers, we had 2.5 million downloads with 50% conversion. People just got into it, they shared it, and it made the client very happy, and also the end user. So we've also found though on applications like for Audi, where we actually help people visualise a new car before it landed in Australia, that helped their business in purely an experiential sense at Australian airports, and gave them a solid understanding of what the consumer preferences were. So there are many instances to use augmented reality, not just for entertainment, but for design, for construction and so on. So we have I guess an early idea, an early insight as to what the best user experiences are, and it's a very exciting future moving forward. So specifically for the finance industry, many people have come across the CommBank Property Finder app, which is still heavily promoted, and I think that's indicative of how successful it's been from a lead generation sense. It's a fun app to use, but it's also very practical. Whether against apps like Suncorp's ATM Finder and NAB's Layer Channel, they are quite useful as well and have been spoken about here or there. The return on investment, though, for the end user may not be as much. But I guess if we look further into the financial realm, a lot of money is flowing from property, and we can visualise our own properties or other large construction sites in order to help us make investment decisions. And it might be about constructing a whole new property, or it might be about renovating your home. So there is a lot of impact augmented reality will have on finance and interrelated industries, property as a main example. So through groups like Simulation Australia, e-learning and with augmented reality has been spoken of and used a lot. And one of the finest examples people have seen is with the BMW head-up display, where a mechanic can just look at the car, or a non-mechanic can just look at the car under the hood and know what parts to replace, or know what parts to assemble or disassemble. And there'll be some visual orientation and instruction along with audio, and it helps make us more efficient, safe, and helps us enjoy our work a little more. This has also started to be used in things like pick and pack, but also in the military, emergency services, and other roles where we simply want to see our new environment and understand how to interact with other people. And this will start to move into an area where we start to avatar ourselves into a workplace environment and visualize it. And the more we visualize it, the more it's real, the more it's convincing, and the smoother that the learning will occur, and the more accelerated that learning will be.